this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus AEW Dark Elevation. This is from June 14th, 2021. Again, they're keeping that show to a proper length, about an hour and 15 minutes, a little bit less than that. We're in episode 14. It was strange that they didn't have notice for the premiere hours before like they usually do. They made that mistake one other time before with Dark, so I'm sure it will not happen again. Nonetheless, this was a show that advanced quite a bit. Elevation does a really good job of being the B show for AEW, and in this case, they're really pushing right from the jump the Wardlow Jake Hager match. I thought that was really cool. They opened with it's not Shark Week, it's Wardlow Week. Wardlow is going to be working Elevation Dark tomorrow night, and then Jake Hager in a mixed martial arts style match on Friday for Dynamite. And he said, I'm going to knock you out in the first round, and that's a guarantee. Super exciting, super cool. Tony Schiavone and Paul White welcome us to another episode of Elevation. And then we get going. Wardlow against Jason Hutch. I grade these matches, which are mostly squash matches, on a 3-check scale. 1 check if the proper person is put over, in this case Wardlow. A 2nd check mark if that person looks great in victory, and he most certainly did. That fall down into his knee knockout move is unbelievable. And then a 3rd check mark if the person being defeated does a great job or is given an inordinately large amount of offense. He does a great job. His whole job was to make Wardlow look like a monster, and that certainly was accomplished. Great. QT Marshall wants his name said in a certain way. It is hysterical. They talk about that. Lee Johnson and Dustin Rhodes against VSK and Travis Titan. This is a good outing for Lee Johnson and Dustin Rhodes. That is a check mark. They get the win after Lee Johnson hits an inverted neck breaker. Rhodes and Lee Johnson look very good in the process. They give VSK and Travis Titan quite a bit of offense here, though, to the point where it almost seemed like a competitive match, so I'll give it a 3rd check mark as well. And we are rolling, and it gives the commentators a chance to talk about the Nightmare Factory versus the Nightmare Family versus the Factory feud. Good stuff. A 3rd match, which we'll call competitive. In competitive matches, you get the 1st check mark if both people end up looking good. In this case, Angelico against Mike Seidel. They did. They both looked very good in this match. A 2nd check mark if somebody is put over in proper fashion. And yes, Angelico, off of his loss on Dynamite, needed the win here and got it with the Navarro death roll, and Seidel taps out. So that's a 2nd check mark, and then a 3rd check mark if something feels like it is advanced that can be used character-wise or on Dynamite or perhaps in an angle or a feud. That isn't really done here so much, so they're not going to get that 3rd check mark from me. But we did have a thing where Hardy tells Angelico to go after Mike Seidel as he applies the Navarro death roll on the outside. And Matt comes to the rescue. So you know what? I take that back. I'm going to give them that 3rd check mark because this is probably going to lead to a tag match. So that is certainly an advancement of something. Our next match, Shawn Spears against Falco, is another squash match. Brings the chair to the ring. So definitely a check mark for Shawn Spears. A 2nd check mark because he looked very dominant and strong here. And I thought Falco did a good job getting his ass kicked, frankly. So 3rd check mark. And we are rolling along. The Wingmen are backstage. Ryan Nemeth is talking to Orange Cassidy. Gives backhanded compliments to JD Drake. They kind of offer that we can give you the Wingman Makeover program to Orange Cassidy. They put their pinkies together. That's a thing. Next match, Isaiah Cassidy and Marquen, Private Party, taking on Dean Alexander and Carly Bravo. I'm a big fan of Dean Alexander and Carly Bravo. A check mark because obviously Private Party go over definitively and they look good in the process, and a third check mark because I think Carly Bravo and Dean Alexander do an exceptional job here. Really, really good stuff. Vicky Guerrero, of course, takes over for Justin Roberts, introduces Nyla Rose. What a fucking squishy squash. Nyla Rose looks strong as hell. That's a check mark. A second one, first one for the win, second one looking strong in the process, and Megan Bayne certainly did her job of just getting destroyed. I like the thing where they put on Rose's I Survived Nyla shirt on top of their fallen opponents. That's kind of a funny bit, I have to say. Orange Cassidy against Cameron Cole. Orange gives Cameron Cole a little bit, but then basically wins, and they're really putting over that orange punch of Orange Cassidy. So 3 check marks here, and we're moving on. This is a very solid, easy to call episode, as you can tell. We get a good tag match here with Eric Cannon, who's been on the indie scene a long time. It's really cool to see him. And Kevin Blackwood, who's one of my favorites here in Florida. So they take on Zero Miedo and Eddie Kingston. And Kevin Blackwood, it may get my Performer of the Week in defeat because, boy, he took those moves like a champ. He was there for everything, made Eddie Kingston and Penta look great. Obviously, they didn't want Eric Cannon to take too much of the offense or to take the loss here, so they had Kevin Blackwood do it, and I thought Blackwood did a phenomenal job. 3 check marks. Julia Hart with the Varsity Blondes against Dani Jordyn. I'm hoping in the future that Griff Garrison really helped support Julia Hart. Certainly, Brian Pillman Jr. was all in, excited for Julia Hart, all that kind of vibe. I just got the feeling that Griff Garrison was just sort of out there as window dressing. He's got to get with the game. Julia Hart really helps round out the Varsity Blondes and makes them look like a major league thing. So they need to do the same for her. That's just my opinion. Julia Hart against Dani Jordyn here. Dani Jordyn looks really great, carrying the very green Julia Hart and making her look very capable here. Great job. So I'm going to go ahead and give Dani Jordyn as well as Kevin Blackwood both sort of Performers of the Week honors. 3 check marks here. Aaron Solo and QT Marshall against Dion Russman and Joe Keys. This is what you would expect. It's Aaron Solo and QT Marshall brutalizing Dion and Joe. It's what it should be. 3 check marks here. Ethan Page joining commentary for our de facto main event, so we'll call it competitive, against Scorpio Sky and Alex Reynolds. Did they both look good? Yes, that's a check mark. Did Scorpio Sky win in definitive fashion? Absolutely. And then was something advanced? Yes, this further feud between Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, and the Dark Order was established. So that's 3 check marks. Anyway, this has been Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.